So, what's up, guys? Shinja here. Today we have a very special guest. Do I just call you Citsacras or?
Either way.
It doesn't matter? Okay, well, we have Cit here. He's one of the Grand Archive devs, and if you are in the Discord, you might know who he is, but you may not have seen him. So, why don't you kind of introduce yourself?
Yeah, I think this might be the first time I've been on camera, unless you were at AX last year or we met in Australia and or New Zealand.
Yeah.
My name is Sitsacras on Discord, or known as Roger in person. I am one of the developers of Grand Archive, with my main focus being on the operations, manufacturing, production, sales, and delivery side.
Nice. Okay, so you're basically making you're responsible for the prints and the delivery and all that.
Yeah, anything that doesn't come across the product on like art, design, images of the game, I am in the back room, in the basement, making sure everything goes smoothly.
Yeah. Okay. So how, or I guess when did you become that? Because I would imagine you're not part, I don't think you were part of the initial team, right? So when did you join? How did that get started, basically?
Exactly. So I was actually originally a backer of the campaign. I had a full-time job in strategy and ops beforehand, and one night I was just scrolling on Facebook and I saw an ad for the game pop up, and I was like, this is kind of funny. Like, I'm the target demographic. I'm 18 to 34, male in California. I like anime. I collect card games, and I was like, oh, you know what? This looks pretty cool.
This is perfect.
And so, I looked into the campaign and I joined the Discord, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. This seems pretty fun. And so when the opportunity came up to actually meet the dev team at PAX Unplugged about December of 2 years ago now, I was like, okay, why don't I fly out and meet the team? I think it's a fairly good way to kind of vet the process, vet the product. Surprisingly, no one else showed up. And so I got to spend 4 straight days back to back, just hanging out with the devs, talking to them about what their vision was, what their design was, what they have for the future of the game. And I really bought into that. I really saw that, at the time, they had a strong vision and a great product and good art direction. They just maybe needed a little more help on the business side. And
Gotcha.
So I said, hey, I'm happy to back more of the game. I'll talk some of my friends into it. If you need any advice, I'm happy to consult on the business side of it. Eventually, things led to another, and I think it was over a TFT game back in May.
Was still there?
Yeah, I was like, I don't really I'm not really getting into my job. It's getting a bit stressful. I'm looking for something new. And he's like, oh, why don't you join the GA team?
Whoa.
Whoa. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Sounds good. And so about a year ago now, I joined the team formally, and I've been full-time ever since.
And full-time traveling now too,
Yeah,
basically.
Spent the last 6 months away from home, 2 months in Taiwan, and then sometime in LA, another 2 months back in Taiwan, then Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand.
Because you have, the printer is in Taiwan.
Yes.
Right, so that's where all the manufacturings happen. Why did you go to Malaysia?
So at the time we had actually a fairly strong bagging community in Malaysia. A couple of stores had bought into the game and thinking, okay, Flesh and Blood has succeeded here. We think there's an opportunity to grow the game for this market, because also anime is also very popular there. And so given the feedback and given kind of what we've seen from support, I decided to book a weekend down to Malaysia, help out with some local demos, and the support at the time, which was around November, was really strong. A lot of the stores were pretty excited about the game, and so thankfully it was a really productive trip.
Nice. I may or may not judge you here, but what is your favorite anime?
My favorite anime?
Favorite anime.
So actually my favorite anime is Bakemonogatari, which is a fairly old anime now.
It's fairly old.
Especially if you watch on Crunchyroll. I think they only have it in 480p. It is very painful to watch.
I think they did up the quality a little bit, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely one of my most, I enjoy watching it a lot. I think I rewatched Bakemono 4 times.
Yeah.
I think I didn't watch the entire thing 4 times, entire
all 11 seasons.
Dude, it's
and 7 movies.
Yeah, it's what Fate do you watch? But it's how do you start Bake?
Well, Fate is my second favorite series.
Yeah, so you like this convoluted, this goes here and yeah. Okay, who's your favorite wife? I'm assuming it's from Bake, but
so
who's your favorite wife?
Technically, I am a huge Hololive simp, and so
But Hololive's not an anime, so that's
Technically,
yeah.
a hologra is an anime.
Okay.
But fair. If we say anime waifu, then it has to be Hitagi Senjogohara from Bakemonogatari.
The crab is very nice.
Yes.
Crab is
If
very
it's
nice.
from Fate, it's Rin. So clearly, I have a little bit of a tsundere streak going on there.
Okay, you pass. You
Oh,
pass.
okay.
You pass. Good taste. Good taste.
Why Sakurajiba is...
Okay, we kind of went away from the point of the video though, which is I have gathered most of the Kickstarter stuff. I don't have everything, like some of the mats. I have like the Kickstarter map, but I don't have like the
But what
inspiring
about
call.
this wonderful
Oh,
mat?
this is not part of the Kickstarter. So I have the Kickstarter promo card pack, I have the game store pack, and then the Alter Lorraine pack. Obviously, I have only one box. I know if you back the Kickstarter for, like for example, if you have spent enough to get a metal card, you probably bought more than one box, but I could only afford one box. Then we have the starter deck, which is, again, kind of boring, but it is part of the Kickstarter, so I have it included. Metal card, obviously, like I touched upon. I think that is it. There's variations, like you can get different colored metal cards, and obviously different mats, but I don't think I'm missing anything.
Where's the deck box?
I do have a deck box, actually. It's the Lorraine one, right? I do have it. It is not opening though. I only have one. I'm not opening that one, but I do have it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the box for later. So let's open these, because I think, so these are very interesting to me because you have the Kickstarter promo cards. So, okay, actually, before I start this, what were you responsible for?
So
Out of all of this.
as whatever you visually see
Okay.
was designed by the rest of the team.
Okay,
So the metal
gotcha.
cards and the playmats were produced a little bit before my time.
Okay.
So when I went to Taiwan, we had already submitted all of the files for the cards and the booster box design and all of the cards within it, as well as the packs. When I was there, it was more about reviewing the build quality of
quality,
everything
the
together. Like, what is the
delivery.
paper we're using? What is the finishes? How is the color checking?
Is packaging part of it?
100%.
Okay.
So how do we package, every single pack? How do we do collation? How do we increase? How do we put in foils? How do we put in the CRs? How do we review all of these cards for quality and then ultimately package it together into a box to ship
Gotcha.
out?
So if I open this box, I only get one foil, I know who to yell at. Because it is.
I'll pass you their number.
Okay, so let's open, I think, let's open this one first. It's the Kickstarter promotional pack. So this one, I believe you get no matter no matter what tier, you will get one.
As long as you backed for product, you would get a pack.
So this, I think the bottommost tier was like $80 or something like that.
It was just a starter kit, I think.
Yeah,
you get for like
but
35.
you would also get this.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Hopefully, I should have brought. Yeah, I need scissors. God damn it.
I will say these packs are not ideal. I'm sure many backers have noted. We've actually changed the pack material and opening process for Alter, and so they should be much, much easier, much more pleasant opening experience, and much more in line with what you expect from other TCGs.
I'm still shitting on you for it. These are sad. Okay, there you go. So these are really cool because these are, I think, regalias and then a couple of other promos. So Arcanist Prism, Sword of Peace. I don't think I use any of them except the Prismatic Edge. This one's pretty cool too. And then this is the real reason why I bought it is the Library Witch. Believe this is the only way to get this is through this pack thing. Man, I want to get 4 of these, but it is surprisingly hard to find them, even though you technically get this for every order.
Yeah, there's
right?
almost 800 of them.
But for some reason, it's hard to find more than one of these, so it's crazy. But oh man, this is the real reason why I bought this pack. These, I don't care. I don't care about these. These are this is what I want.
Give them away after this.
Oh god. Okay. So, I forgot who told me, but I remember saying like the cards are better quality, higher quality. So, in terms of heat and stuff, it will not pringle as much. This has been in my car for a while,
Not too bad, actually.
which is not too bad. Let's see if it can. You I don't think you can properly see, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's not factory straight, but I think it's a little unfair to like expect them to be perfectly straight all the time. But these are pretty good. I mean, I know I have a Rainbow Dancer card from Pokemon in my car, no sleeve. And granted, it's been there way longer than this, but it has been in my car just sitting there, and it is it is starting to do weird things. So this is a good sign.
And it's kind of the nature of any foil card because of the layer of foil and plastic kind of warps differently than paper.
Right.
Naturally get that, but because the paper we decided to go with, and we've reviewed about 10 different types of cardstock, but was ultimately a 350 GSM paper that we imported from Italy, custom made white core with a mix of both plastic and paper fibers, that feels more playable, more like an actual card versus like a stiff piece of cardboard. And because of that additional thickness means that it's much more durable if you're just playing it or leaving it out in the sun.
How does that, like, does that play, and excuse me, I don't know too much about like manufacturing processes and stuff like that, right? So does that contribute to how, like, for example, the back or how these feel?
Yeah,
as well?
Definitely. Okay. So like, you know, from a newbie standpoint, paper is kind of all the same. You like have varying thicknesses.
Hey, there's whitening here. I want a refund. I want a refund.
But depending on, you know, where you source your paper, how you source it, are you fusing two sheets together? What kind of core do you have? There's so many decisions that affect what the ultimate hand feel and playability of that card is. Because we wanted to feel like a more premium product, we of course sourced a more custom premium paper from a, you know, trusted playing card manufacturer, paper manufacturer, and so that we could have, you know, the custom 350 white core GSM, because standard is usually black or blue core to prevent someone from seeing your playing card through the back. But because the anime style is much more vibrant, we wanted to make sure we had a white core instead to really express the art. And then once you pick your paper, you have to determine how will you print on it, because each paper absorbs ink differently and they treat different finishes, and we can go on and on about manufacturing, but Shinja looks like his eyes are rolling over. I'm zoning out.
I was completely. Like, interesting. Actually, it's funny though, because a lot of these behind the scenes stuff do interest me, right? So this is not my first card game. Like Weiss was technically my first, and then I did technically dabble into Yu-Gi-Oh, but that was like when I was a kid, and it doesn't matter, right? So it's always interesting, like, oh, I look at Weiss cards and some of the cards don't look good, or I look at, like, I went to Korea for a family trip, and Korean Pokemon cards feel fake, like, you know, so it's like, why is there such a big difference in, like, where it's located versus where the quality is? So it's always, like, interesting to me to see what the process is and, like, and stuff like that, right? What I think, I don't remember but we touched upon it in my previous, when I was opening this with other card owners, but I think the printing DPI was like ridiculously high. Why so much? I think it was like 3,000 or something like that, right? Like, why was it so much versus, like, I think other card games are like either 1,000 or less, right?
Yeah.
So what was why? Like, I just want to know why.
Well, in short, because we wanted to.
Okay. Okay.
The idea behind that is that, you know, so many modern card games are still, you know, a couple generations behind as far as tech goes.
Okay.
They've stayed with, you know, the traditional high rosette pattern because it works. Magic has it, Flesh and Blood has it, Digimon, Pokemon continue to have that rosette pattern because that's what the manufacturers they use still utilize. And so at the same cost, there's no need to
expensive to go
upgrade your manufacturing.
Yep. I get it, but it sucks when you're so, like, stagnant on just one thing, and, like, yes, it does cost a lot of money to upgrade to whatever, you know, higher DPI or whatever, but man, like, it's just so nice. Like these are really nice. There's normal foils. The normal cards are really nice. If you ever get a hands on like the SIGs and foils, I think those are really, really nice to look at. These are, like, my only experience with SIGs are like Weiss, and like Weiss cards are nice, you know, but no comparison to, like, visually to this, right? Yeah. So,
and that's a lot about what we, you know, tested with, because this is our first run. There's a lot of factors we wanted to make sure we set the standard for our game. What cardstock are we using, because we can't really change it after the fact.
Right.
What's our back design gonna be, because that has to stay consistent for the longevity of our game. And then from there, it's like, what quality of printing do we want to do? What is our border? What is our framing? And so we spent a lot of iterations making sure all of this met our standard first before pushing out the full production.
So, question for you. So again, I've touched upon it on a previous video, but the back and Tops, who's the owner of the local car shop I'm at, touched upon it too. But there's textured back. This is a textured back, right?
It's
that's
a
like
UV spot.
UV spot finish. Okay. Why was the decision made to do this when most people would put them into a sleeve and never see it or touch it?
Why not?
Okay, I like that answer.
and so much of this, because this game has been such a big passion project for a lot of us devs, it's been about like, what can we see in this industry that we can really, try something new, really kind of break the mold on. And ultimately, it's that like, what would I find cool? What would I think opening being like, oh, this is awesome, this is different.
Right.
We wanted to bake a lot of those feelings into the game that we're producing, because now it goes into card shops, it goes into players' hands, and they go, this is something different. This is something new. It feels fresh.
Yeah, I think my very first experience with UV textured backs would be a card game called Build Divide. It's rather new. I don't know if this has been on previous games because I have no idea, but my only experience was with Build Divide. And when I first opened, I think Demon Slayer was like the first set, right, that I opened, and I was like, wow, this texture back feels really nice, especially when you're opening them and it's just like, it just feels nice and you're like, wow, this is really cool, I've never seen this before. Unfortunately, the front of the card doesn't look as nice in my opinion, but that was like my first experience. I guess I understand, like, yes, this is going into a sleeve if you're a player, or a binder if you're a collector, and you're probably never gonna see or touch the back again. But when you're opening the card for that first couple minutes or whatever, it does feel very nice. And we're gonna go straight into the Lorraine alt art. I think this is unlocked at a certain tier that I don't remember the number.
It starts at diamond and then above.
So why, I don't, I guess I don't know if you would know the answer to this, but why was like the alt art Lorraine, like this art not used versus like, I think this is level 1, but like this or like the default level 2.
Yeah, so what goes on behind the scenes of, when you're making a card game is that not all of the art pieces you produce will be used. Clearly, we don't just, commission 275 pieces of art, say, looks good, and then push them all out.
Right.
So we've gone through a lot of iteration with, different designs, different artists, different styles, and I believe at the time they had this piece of art in the backlog that was used as a test to try and flesh out. And so more around the idea of like, okay, we can produce additional promos, which of course should be alt art to maintain kind of like the specialness and the fun factor of opening these. And we have this art in the backlog we can kind of bring up and use for this promo card. And so I believe it was always originally planned during the campaign, like before my time.
Yeah.
I was still a backer, but yeah, it's always been there.
I guess like the decision was made that the current level 2 was like better for
a more polished,
printing.
more finished piece of art that would stand out better within the lineage, because I believe Hori is the main artist for all 3 Lorraines, whereas this one is done by a different artist.
Gotcha. How important is keeping the artists, I guess, like throughout all, like a lineage, for example? So for example, Lorraine's all 3, but then I think Rai is different.
Yeah, so depending on the level 3, because there are 2 versions of them and the lineage, it was nice to have someone do the art for all 3 because you had the consistent art direction and feel of the character. But given the constraint in some situations, we had to have other artists fill in. And so not all of the champions do have the same artist for all 3 lineages. And it's something we'll likely try and steer towards in the future sets when we do have lineages like that. It was just something that was more
It's not like hard lock. That's not, okay, gotcha. How difficult was the SIGs, the CUR specifically? Because I know, knock on wood, hopefully we pull one here, but like, but we were having a chat off camera, obviously, with a couple other people, and and also actually you expect this on the Discord too. It's just a pain in the ass to get unique 70 SIGs for 1 card, multiply that by however many cards there are, and each one has to be unique. Not only do you get from the artist, but then you're like, hey, by the way, guys, I need to print, 200 whatever, 800 whatever unique cards. How difficult was that process?
So to give some perspective, when you do offset printing, which is the traditional printing method for card games, because at that volume, at that scale, digital printing is not feasible. What you do is that you laser etch aluminum plates that are being used to mass print batches of cards.
Right.
And so the overall batch for Kickstarter was around 24 plates.
Okay.
For all of the rarities, all of the combination of cards. The total number of plates we made just for the SIG was 27.
So you made more plates for the SIGs than all of base set, basically.
Yeah, we needed, because there were 840 unique signatures and serial combinations, we could only use one plate for one set of cards.
Right.
And then we just threw it away and made another plate for the next. So it was like numbers 1 to 3 were on one plate. We printed one batch and was like, looks good? Looks good. Throw it out. All right, where's the second plate? And then I sat in my hotel room with a stack of CRs just being like, all right, looks good, or do we need to reprint? Looks good, or do we need to reprint?
So you manually reviewed all, was it 800?
840. And so if you've pulled the signature card, we have had an indirect handshake.
That sounds like, oh my god, that's so much pain. So I would imagine it is not happening again.
Never say never.
Never say
I have my opinion,
okay.
but you know, people like them, so.
It's pretty cool to see that, like, you know, if your number 5 is different than your number 25 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I think there were some challenges in that, you know, our artists got tired of writing their signature
a bajillion times.
70 to 100 times, and so.
Oh my god, Hori had to do it 70 times 3 plus whatever other things. Oh god.
And so you have artists that are like, Hunch, you have very like intricate signatures that vary between the two, and people like kind of seeing the differences, whereas other artists
I can't even come up with one signature, let alone like 240 of different variations.
Yeah.
Oh my
Whereas
goodness.
some artists
That's
just
crazy.
signed the same signature multiple times, and so they're technically variants, but you can't easily tell.
Yeah,
And
unless
so
you're like side by side.
at that point, it's like it's a cool marketing tactic, but is it worth the cost and time? Potentially. You know, when we go to our prize cards for Ascent, we'll likely look at different variants like that. But
prize cards, I think it was revealed I think top 8 gets a fire spirits, right?
I think we've spoiled prize cards, but they're not necessarily directly linked. Although the fire spit, I believe, should be Path of Steel. Top 8.
Yes. Path of Steel. I just don't know if it was like first place or just everybody gets one, and then as you get higher, your number changes. I have no idea.
No, we'll provide more information.
I'm trying to poke him right now. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, these are the game store promos. So these are, I believe you had to prove that you are a game store when you were backing them, and then that's how you got them, right?
Yep.
And you get more of these based on how many starter deck displays. So the more you order of these, you get more of these.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
The incentive was that, you know, if you're going to order more decks to build your community, to allow more people in your game to try out the game, you'll get more packs to use as prizing for events. And we didn't require that them be used as prizing, but of course we asked that, you know, if you received game store packs, you of course use them to help promote organized play for the game.
Gotcha. And I believe these are currently the only ways to get these two in this foil.
In this format, yeah.
In this format, and I think with Alter coming out, these will be SIGs and only in starter decks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
What was is it like 1 in 72 decks?
Yeah, it'll be 1 in 72 decks for a signature card, and so if you wanted one specific signature.
Is it 1 in 72 like that deck? So for example, if I wanted Lorraine, I need to buy 72 Lorraine, specifically Lorraine decks.
Yes.
Okay. That is pain. Okay, so it's essentially, I think it's like 2 cases, right? Generally speaking. So in 2 cases, on average, you'll get 1, but you just don't know which one.
Yep.
And if you want to chase one specific person, you have to buy 72 of that one specific thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty pain. Oh goodness. Okay. Do you know? Do we? I know. I think there was like 5,000 displays that were printed, or was that?
I don't believe the number has been publicized yet, but when we get closer to launch,
It was on Ipsilodar probably posted
Leaky
a number.
faucet.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to now the starter deck display. These were intended to, obviously, you know, 2 players pick a side, and then you just learn how to play the game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Okay, what was the... I know I received some starter decks where some of them were tilted.
Yeah,
That
so of a timing thing, because it is a mold plastic, there were some characteristics about it that made it more malleable because the decks are so heavy with 72 cards that they could shift around. What we've done with Alter is increase the thickness of the plastic mold, as well as add little spurs or standoffs on the edge of the deck to hold them more tightly in place, and then we shrunk the window of the starter deck so that you'll only see the full card on display rather than kind of like the movements or the excess space around it.
What I want to touch upon though is like, what is the paper/ink you've used for this box as well as this box? So they feel very nice. they're very they're very like, it's like matte and like it just feels very premium.
Exactly.
So it's like, was that the intention? Like, how much struggle busing did you do to get this level, or was it just pretty, you print once, you're like, oh, that's pretty good, and then you moved on? Or?
Yeah, so of course we wanted to make sure the packaging looked and then felt premium as well, and so it was a similar process where our manufacturer was traditionally actually a luxury package manufacturer for a lot of brands like Gucci, LVMH, Nvidia, and so they have a lot of experience with packaging and how do you make like a premium feeling product, and so that was more on the easy side. The hard work was on the TCG side.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. What was, I don't know if you were responsible, but why is this all I get? like if I'm trying to learn the game and I'm like, I have a QR code.
So we had some, we've tried with multiple kind of like menus, especially at Anime Expo where we had a more like fleshed out starter guide. But what we found was that when we had more of a fleshed out guide, players would take a look at it and be like, oh, I can learn the full game from this guide, and then realize, wait, oh, I'm still missing like a mechanic A or B or C. And it was just like, the more fleshed out guide gave the impression that they could only use it to learn. And so it was a bit of a learning experience from a user standpoint, where that if we just provided the QR code as the path to learn, they know that they have to go to the QR code to learn. Okay. But if we provided more information, they could assume they could learn just from that, and it led to a lot of people not learning the game properly or having issues learning. We're still adjusting about like what the best format is forward, but definitely.
So I don't know if you can share it, but with the Alter version of starter decks, are you also going to get a QR code?
Yeah, you'll get something similar.
Okay, gotcha.
But hopefully you'll be either in a game store or with friends that can teach you or coach you through how to play.
Gotcha. Okay. And obviously we have the official Discord who do tabletop sim, right? So there's plenty of people to help you learn if you want to go through that. So you don't have to technically. So if you're in like middle of nowhere and unfortunately your game store doesn't carry this game for some reason and you had to buy it online to have it shipped to you, tabletop sim is available. And every starter deck comes with 4 prelude packs, right?
Correct.
So what is prelude versus like Dawn of Ashes, like first edition and then Alter? Like what are these?
Yeah, Prelude was a subset for the players that once they had a couple games with the starter decks to learn how to play, could then open the Prelude packs, recustomize your starter deck and play the game on a slightly more advanced scale or with different cards. Gotcha. So it just gave a longer lifespan to the starter deck. And once you've gone through kind of like that process, you would then upsell into the booster
packs. Gotcha. Okay, so these are intended for, okay, I play the game, I like the game, but my starter decks are boring or whatever, or you want to explore, then you open these, and then it's kind of like a semi-sealed
kind of
thing. Okay, gotcha. And these are like normal packs. They're random stuff, right? They're not fixed or anything.
I think it's 8 packs, 9 cards? We can just look at the back of the card.
It has 9 cards.
9 cards. So
your distribution, you don't even know, man.
Hey, my mind is in set 2. So these should be 9 card packs, 6 commons, 2 uncommons, and 1 rare or above usually.
Gotcha. And I think the rare, the whatever cards in the back has the Kickstarter logo on it, right? The K.A.
Any rare cards will have the Kickstarter stamp.
Gotcha.
On them.
The other cards won't, but it will say Prelude on for the code, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So if you wanted to collect a full Prelude specific set, you could.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, these are the first time we will have multiple. So do you want to open 2 and I'll open 2 and we'll see what we get. Your experience, because you open a bunch, right? You can tear it. Yeah, you can tear it, right? Yes. Okay, better than pretty good.
Now comes the
the struggle busing.
oh, trusty seed.
Okay.
Fan
I'm
favorite.
gonna move it up here. Trusty. Oh, I got the refurbish. I think Solera wants to ban this. That's fine.
Yeah, it's too strong, man. Too meta.
These are pretty cool. Okay. I think there's no set like.
Ooh, dispersion.
Ooh, getting that's a pretty good card too. There's
Put
no
it up
like
there with
yeah, these two cards are very, very meta, right? Yeah, very useful. And then I got the guy.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. Nice. These are there's no like card trick or like because like with Pokemon it's like 4 to the back or 1 to the back or whatever.
I guess it depends on what card trick you're trying to go for, whether you want to reveal the rare slot or you want to reveal the foil slot. And so the rare is going to always be the back card. The foil slot will always be the last common card. So it would be 3 cards from the back to the front. So you'd move all of the uncommons and the rare to the front. And then you would have your foil or a CR slot at the end.
Gotcha. Okay. So all of these, I think the big selling point with these, at least from my perspective, because I come from Weiss and a lot of the hits are not guaranteed, but basically guaranteed, right? So you can have, in first edition specifically, I think SIGs are 1 in 15?
1 in 15 boxes, yeah.
on average, right?
Yeah.
So, and it does not take the place of whatever rare cards in the back.
It replaces a common, so it's in the same slot as the foil. But
Gotcha.
if you hit a SIG, you would get 3 foils in the box and then the SIG on top of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you could get more than 3 foils too, right? Or
You
less.
can.
Or less if you want.
Averages.
Okay, so just because you get 3 foils doesn't like necessarily kill the box,
Yeah.
right? Because you can always get the SIG, right? Okay.
Correct. And then even within the same case, you know, you
I've
could have
had
multiple
yeah,
SIGs.
I've had multiple. I think technically Geo pulled 2 SIGs in his case.
Yeah.
I think.
I think he said one of the first cases he opened had 2.
Yeah.
And people were very upset.
So if we pull, I'm gonna reiterate. If we don't pull averages, I'm just gonna like poke and yell at you. Okay? Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. You can submit feedback to support@weavesoftheshore.com.
Can I, if we get a card that's like miscut, can I or mail it to Weaves of the Shore and you'll send me a new one?
A miscut? How miscut is miscut?
I don't know how miscut are the cards. Like I don't know.
If you can find a card where the border is not visible, then sure, I'll replace the card for you.
Okay, so if it's you know where like Pokemon where there's like half the card or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like so like that is like you can replace it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're confident it's not gonna happen though, because you manually revealed all
Yeah. Given
12,500 boxes and however many cards are in those boxes.
Given our QA process, I'm fairly confident that miscuts are extremely rare in our production, at least.
Okay.
Relative to Pokemon or some of the other
games.
Just
Not
because-
to put them on blast or anything.
Yeah, just because the die cutting process we use is much more, a little slower, a little more consistent than what Pokemon or Magic uses for their die cutting method.
Which makes sense, I guess, because it's not like to the scale of like Pokemon,
Yeah.
right? You're printing bajillion boxes.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Kind of what you learn with printing is that there are different processes that have to change when you move up volumes. So what you print for like a 100 box run is going to be very different from how you print a 10,000 box run,
Right.
which is going to be very different from how you print a 1 million box run.
Yeah. So you have not seen this.
No, this is my first time.
This is the
seeing this in
Kickstarter
person.
mat. I actually don't know how you get this, other than I don't know if like everyone gets this or you have to buy it. I have no idea.
I believe it came with every order as well.
Okay. You just to make it clear, you were not responsible for this, right?
What are you about to suggest with this mat?
You were not responsible for this,
This
right?
is before my time.
Okay,
correct.
this mat is trash. Okay, the reason why I say that is because you get a zoned mat. Yeah. You get a zoned mat, which is fine, I guess, right? You get graveyard main deck, whatever. But like, I can barely see this castle. You have Lorraine's green hair, which is cool, and then you have the logo down here. But like, it other than this, it is a black mat.
I can't disagree with that comment.
Oh my god.
Hey, we just, contrast it with where we are
Yeah,
now.
I mean, at least,
today.
okay, this mat is really good, and then the other mats have been pretty good. But this one, I felt kind of sad when I saw this as like the Kickstarter one. I was like, like even on camera, it's even like hard to see. Like there's a castle in the back.
Yeah, I like to joke with some of the card arts too, but this run of production of product should be the worst product we ever produce.
Because it gets better.
Because of budget, of time, of experience, we should only improve for every additional product going after.
So Fractured Crown is gonna be even better than this, and whatever says
Art
after
amazing.
this. Art amazing. Okay. All right, we're gonna. Don't repeat this. Just please. You want to feel it? You want to feel this?
Oh yes.
All right. So and then I guess technically this is not opened, but you get some sort of metal card per after a certain tier, and I think you guys changed the tier lists. I want to say, right? Because whatever card was on the Kickstarter is not right.
Yeah, so that's the problem with Kickstarter, being that you can't edit anything once the campaign is locked. I believe it started out red,
is the highest.
blue, gold, silver, white.
I think it was literally like it was like red was at the top, and then blue, and then white, and then some other and then some other color, and then it got reversed.
So we gave the community the right to vote because color is a very decisive and personal opinion.
Yes.
And the ultimate vote came out gold, silver, red, blue, white.
Yeah.
And so that is the tier order from top to bottom.
And these are all serialized, which I think is pretty cool. So no matter, and they're tiered, right? So like golds would be like from 0 to I think 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of tiers upwards.
Exactly.
So there's a couple of cool ones. I don't know where my red one is, but my red one is 404.
Oh.
So it's like pretty cool.
It's not blue though.
It is not blue. It would have been blue, but the numbers didn't match, or the number wouldn't match the tier, which is unfortunate. But I think these are pretty cool. I think the only other metal card I've seen was Pokemon.
Yep.
And they didn't do very
well. There's a couple others. There's the Platinum Blue Eyes White Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh!
True,
Which
I did.
retailed at 5,000 USD.
I saw it at where did I see it? It was the Mint Collective in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It was at Heritage Auctions booth or something like that. And it was in. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
Don't even ask me about the $1,000 one.
Yeah, but.
The one is now like $10,000.
Yeah.
But it's very nice.
But it sold out like immediately, right?
Yeah, but.
I think the DBZ one just released
The
to
metal
people
DBZ?
that bought it, but I'm not sure how.
More metal cards? Possible? Not possible?
You know, if we find ourselves ahead of schedule, the rest of the product is, well ahead and prepared, we'll consider it.
Entire base set in metal, I'll shuffle my metal deck.
Tiffany and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
We have diamond inlaid costs and names.
Dude, 1 in 50 chance that you'll get like a diamond crusted like
This
regalia
is
cost
or a
whatever.
calcum tier.
All right, so the main event, basically, we have one box that we are going to open. This is a dev buff, right? We're gonna definitely pull a sig here.
Oh.
Yeah. If we don't, I'm gonna yell at you.
I don't think I've ever pulled a sig actually.
Okay, how much product have you opened for
Like zero.
Zero.
I'm a backer personally. I have not touched any of the
Ooh,
boxes.
okay.
I haven't seen them. I probably won't see them until about June.
Oh wow. So you well, even I'm assuming you opened for QA though, right?
So
Or
I
no?
opened before the packs were sealed. I checked them before the card content and sorting then, and then afterwards.
But once they're sealed, you're like, I'm not.
Yeah, we opened a couple boxes just to go through the entire set to see like, okay, is this configured properly? What isn't working? What can we improve for the future? And so, yeah, every day. I guess when I wasn't in Taiwan, I've gotten a box of Alter opened for me and sent over in video just for me to check.
So okay, so you watched them over video, but you've not opened any.
No, I've opened 1 or 2, I think, in Australia.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's just with the players there and
Yeah,
stuff.
when I was
Okay.
there.
Okay. Who is your favorite character?
Out of all
Out
of
of
these?
just I guess the the card art.
Yeah, so of course, for me, my first deck I played was Lorraine.
Okay, so Lorraine is your thing.
I played Lorraine back when it was Doodle Arts. And so when I went to PAX Unplugged, I was piloting
A stick
a
figure
Fire Lorraine stick deck.
Ah,
and
the
I
greatest.
went, I think like 12-3 against all the other devs. And this was,
Smack the devs.
Lorraine meta at the time.
Oh, okay.
Rye got buffed, and then it was Rye meta, and then now it's back to Lorraine meta.
Dude, Cylinder keeps saying he has like this Sylvie deck that consistently beats Lorraine, but is that true?
I haven't played the game in about 8 months now.
Oh my god, fake dev.
Yeah, fake dev.
I am so busy.
All right, so here, this is your stack
Thank you.
because Lorraine was on it. I'll take the right one, and then we'll split the middle one. So you're experienced, right? So that you don't need scissors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know the back is pretty easy to open though. Oh, look at that! Look at you go. I've tried to open using these pull tab thingies, and like I can't even pull them down.
So if you want to know the technical reason behind them, these original packs were PET plastic. And so the acronym is specifically denominating the type of polymer used in the plastic. And so what you see in packs, or what you see in food safety, is usually you get PET or OPP, which translates to different polymer chains of plastic. And because PET is technically more heat resistant and more food safe, it's a lot thicker and stiffer and is harder to open because the polymer chains overlap in a crisscross shape. OPP is a lot easier to open because the polymer chains align lengthwise. And so it's all these fun little things you learn when you don't know how to request a specific pack to be packed.
So you're like, I just pick that one.
Yeah. And so first, or Alter is OPP, and so it'll be more in line with traditional pack. It's food safer.
Food safe.
So these cards are.
It's food safe.
Hey, OPP is what they use for like penny sleeves. So
Yeah, it's funny because our manufacturer was not traditionally a TCG manufacturer first. All of their packaging for plastic goes with PET because it is more secure, more food safe, more moisture resistant. But the card industry is so used to that easy to open feel that now it feels weird because you're using a different plastic that is technically more secure, but a deviation from the industry.
Yeah.
And so that's something we needed to recorrect because the opening experience is so important for a card game.
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny because like with Weiss, I open it from the back like this, and it is like damn near impossible to do that with, with this one. Do you think that, Varuk?
Yeah.
Varuk? Is that going to change with Alter?
Yeah, so with Alter, because of the packing method, we actually invested in a packing and sorting machine with our manufacturer. The plastic material is going to be more in line with industry standard. There are slits in the back that allow for the pack to be kind of compressed of air, and so you could actually just open it from the back open.
Thank goodness.
Either from the top or just from pulling apart the back at the slits.
So that means I could open it with liquid nitrogen, right?
You could.
dichotomy is superior. You would be feeling inferior if using scissors was not like
Yeah, it's a very personal preference with opening, and
yeah, it was definitely weird because I feel like, I mean, personally, I think it's not, the feeling isn't too bad, right? But it's like the feeling of like, I cannot open this. Like, it was like, ooh.
yeah.
Oh, it's hard, dude.
It is rough.
And
then you bend the cards in the pack, and that's the one with the sig in it, you know?
He's a teenager. Yeah, EDQ like he's just a teenager string.
With this?
Yeah, remember EDQ was like, let me try.
With GA?
Yeah, instantly open. I can't remember what he did.
Yeah, but he's a zoomer. He doesn't count. It's in his nature. Inspiring call, very nice. So, I think Kickstarter was printed, I think 12,000 plus or minus boxes, right?
12,500 total.
And that, I'm assuming, is because, okay, well, from all your Kickstarter backers plus whatever add-on they did, that's the number you reached, right? And then you shaving a little bit off the top for events, and I'm assuming if someone's didn't get their order because it got lost in the mail or whatever, replacements and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
I think the number for Alter was also released at like 17,000 or something like that.
17,500.
So only 5,000 more. How did you guys arrive at that number versus not more, not less, or whatever?
Yeah, so we put up pre-orders quite a bit beforehand because we wanted to give stores the opportunity.
Foil!
Ooh.
This is the only foil in the box. Right? You're gonna
We have plenty more packs to go. There's plenty more to see.
Creative shock.
But we wanted to give stores and our distributors the opportunity to order enough product for well in advance of committing to our print run numbers. And so what we saw at the time was that we saw about an order amount of 8,000 boxes or so. And so we said, okay, that's a fair amount. We probably want to print a little bit more than that, at least more than our first edition run, to make sure that the game was accessible. And so we initially committed to about 15,000 boxes.
Okay.
What we saw quickly after the turn of the year was that demand suddenly shot through the roof. And ultimately, we had order amounts that far exceeded what we initially estimated for. And so we had to actually rush a paper order to print slightly more boxes to meet demand. And so we ended up arriving at 17,500 as being the number of boxes that we were going to print to match demand at that time. And so once we committed to that and we planned out our future set releases, of course, demand kept growing. And so now we are in the position we are now where we want to print set 2 and we want to finish that and work on the future, but we are seeing an increased demand for set 1 even before release still.
Gotcha. So what's the release schedule? Because I think Fractured Crown was scheduled to be released like sometime in August, right? So that's like 4 months, 3 months, something like that?
About 3.5 months from now.
What's like, is that the typical release schedule looking like? So like, for example, set 3 would be like 3 to 4 months after that. Obviously all tentative. Right?
Exactly.
But is that the goal that you guys are trying to go for, like 3 to 4 months?
Yeah.
Or?
The pacing right now for the future is to about have a set every 3 to 4 months, because that's about the typical lifespan of a given meta, depending on how many cards you have. I think what we've seen so far with Dawn of Ashes, there's 275 cards. The meta's been pretty flexible pre-release, and we kind of expect every game store to develop their own meta, and after 3 months is probably when product dries up, the meta gets a little bit stale, and it'll be time or prime time for us to put out a new set to kind of shake things up a bit.
Gotcha. So I guess you're writing a retrospective, or I guess you've already written it.
Oh,
say,
yeah.
Right? So, and I guess more information is going to come through that if you guys want to read that.
Yeah.
I forgot when it's going to get released in like a week or two, maybe?
I don't know either. I saw my name get tagged in it, and I was like, okay, it's coming up. But I wrote kind of like a retrospective of the Kickstarter process from my point of view, just because I think it's fairly unique to go from
Up here, yeah.
a backer to then a community moderator to then advisor and then joining on as a developer from the other side. So I have a little bit of a perspective from kind of like the whole sphere. And so I thought it would have been interesting for me to write up about my personal experiences, my thought about the game, and like my thoughts along the way through production to release, and now looking at what comes after Dawn.
Gotcha. How's the, I guess a little teaser or whatever, how was the experience with going from, 'cause what was your, I don't know if you touched upon this video, but do you know, where were you working before this?
Yeah, so I was
If you care to share.
I did business strategy and operations at Facebook before I joined the team formally.
Gotcha. So going from that, which is, super corporate, whatever, right? And then all of a sudden you're joining this ragtag team of weebs basically, and you're now basically getting shipped off to Taiwan to help this manufacturing process, right? Like, how has that whole process been like for you?
Oh, it was insanity. Can't imagine a more drastic lifestyle shift. And especially because this is actually the first card game I've played.
Okay.
I had a lot to onboard to, a lot to figure out, a lot to learn from the manufacturing side, but it's been such a creatively challenging process that I wouldn't imagine anything else besides this.
This isn't your first TCG ever though. You've been collecting before this though.
So I've collected Pokemon as a kid, Yu-Gi-Oh as well. Got back into Pokemon and Weiss collection during
Second foil!
COVID. Yeah,
we're on the way to average.
Although our SR rate is a bit sad, unless you haven't been keeping track.
I
there
only.
we go.
Oh, Trisket! I think Trisket was one of the designer tiered cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we had one tier at 10,000 where they could design their own card, and Trisket was the result.
What was the, I don't know if you would know that, but like, what's like the thought process or like the process behind getting your card designed? Like, so do they just submit a card or an art and then like that's it, or do you walk in through like, oh, what abilities do you want to do? Like, what's the process?
Yeah, from my understanding, they had a pretty extensive group chat with the artists, the game designers, and the backer to discuss, you know, what kind of character do they want to put out? They wanted an angel. They were big No Game No Life fans, and so I see a lot of inspiration from there. And then afterwards was about, okay, what abilities would be cool? What element do you imagine this would be? Where would this fall under? And so altogether, that's where the design package came from. And so it was a pretty lengthy discussion for what I understand.
Was it like a predetermined, you can design any character as long as it was an ally, or is it like you had free reign, like you can make an action card or whatever?
I believe it was specifically an ally for the campaign, but generally the higher quality artists for the allies are for cards that stick on the board versus actions.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see what you get. Do you have a favorite card?
I do. It is a common card, actually.
A common card? What's the card?
It is Flamelash Subduer.
Oh.
It is, the art is very tsundere.
This one. I see. Makes sense.
It's actually one of the cards that is changing art in Alter, but I will always be a bigger fan of the original.
I don't even know what it looks like.
It's unfortunately not a very meta card.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good for drafts, I think, right? Right? Or so I've heard.
Find out when you can draft the game.
How's that process like when you're, because I know with like, for example, like with Wise, drafting is not really their biggest like focus, right? That you're just making a box, you randomize it, off it goes, right? How is like, or was there any problems with like making a box? Okay, let's make it draftable, but also make it fun for collectors. And has it been a problem to combine both of them or not?
Yeah, so it's a bit before my time, but again, draft is kind of something you have to decide during the design step because it involves a lot of different factors. You can't have a set that's, you know, was not draftable before and just flip it to draftable and call it a day, right? You have to design cards and archetypes and the game itself to work in a draftable format. And so that's why you see a lot of Japanese games really with like box numbers like 70 to 80 really only provide like staple support for a few archetypes because it's a little easier to design that way, a little easier to push out sets and much cheaper from the production side. And then you go to Flesh and Blood, Magic, all these draftable games where sets have to be 200 plus cards, and that's just because you need the sheer volume of A, variety, and B, kind of like archetypal staples to support an environment where draft is diverse, is fun, and it becomes another way to play the game rather than just constructed.
Gotcha. Have you drafted? This is your fault. Have you drafted at all, even when you were like in Australia and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I drafted initially during the test phase. I think it was last June when I was with the team in Houston, and we did, you know, like some test drafts to see how the card pool performed, what would we need to adjust for the draft rules, and that's where we determined like the 30 deck minimum as well as the unlimited number of material deck cards as well. And so far we've seen draft be somewhat successful. It is playable, it is fun, and so we'll see kind of how we can improve upon that for future sets afterwards.
Was the plan to have every set be draftable? So like for example, set 2, even though it's an expansion set, to be draftable?
So set 2 won't be, because it is only 90 cards, it won't be draftable. But set 3 will be another standard core set, so that will be draftable.
So all like main
set
pieces. Okay. Have you heard anything about Ascent?
It is happening the weekend of September 30th.
The weekend of September 30th. Okay. Why? Again, I guess I don't know if this is like more your lane, but it's just like why? What was like the thought process of picking that time frame versus like, you know, the game's only been out for 5-6 months at that point, technically official release, but you know, I guess longer if you're counting Kickstarter delivery. So it's like, why do that versus like maybe wait a year or wait till like you know for sure the game is like is popping, right? You wait till Alter, you find out the game is like really good. It's like, all right, let's do the event planning now. Like, I don't know if that's your side or not.
So
but...
it's interesting because most of the feedback has been the opposite way of like, why is it so far back? Why isn't it sooner? And there's a lot of factors involved, mainly just from like budget, capital, time, and effort. But we wanted to give the opportunity for players globally to travel to Ascent. And so we wanted to make sure that we had enough time for all Australian, Malaysia, New Zealand crew to make sure they had enough, forethought to book flights, to book their own travel plans, to take time off of work. And for us, because the goal is to be a competitive card game, it's important to make sure that that's marketed properly for everyone that's looking at the game, making the decision of whether they want to buy into the game or not, either from a store or player collector standpoint. And so the sooner we can get details of Ascent, of organized play, of regional structures, etc., the better sense people have of like, what is this game going to be relative to Magic, relative to Yu-Gi-Oh? Why should I stock this game on my shelves? Why should I promote it in my community if there aren't detailed plans of this? If it's just another collector game, then there's not as much incentive for stores.
So I guess going back, this is a question I just kind of like remembered, but like I think Kickstarter was delayed, right? So like it was like whatever the date was, it was like, hey, we're popping off on this day. Didn't happen. It got delayed a little bit, and then I think it got delayed one more time until like February, March of this year, or something like that. At least for the US side. So what was the reasoning behind all of that? If you can even get into that. Oh, look, some pretty good. Standard cards. So it's like why was like the delay there versus like why not just push it into like I don't know, April for like the actual release or whatnot.
So the first delay was actually because we just weren't happy with the level of sampling quality that we were getting back. We actually had a lot of issues with our first manufacturer, which we'll go into more detail in that retrospective article, but it came to a point where we actually had to fire them and look for a new manufacturer. And so we were at a point of like, we can try to meet our original deadline, but we're not going to be able to review the product. We're just going to have to push it out like sight unseen. And we weren't comfortable with that. And so we said that if we're looking to, we only get one shot at this.
Right.
We only get one shot to make an impression, and people are going to make their minds up about this game. And so we chose to delay the initial release so that we had more time to review quality, to make some changes and to tweak with a new manufacturer as needed. And I definitely appreciated that decision because it was tough at the time, especially at a time where TCGs, the whole space was kind of being upheaved. Some stuff was popping off, some stuff was crashing, and so a lot of backers were very uneasy and very unhappy, rightfully so at the time. And so we wanted to make sure that we could still deliver a quality product that we were proud of, even if we had to take more time. And then the second delay happened because more on the logistics side, I think there were a couple things that were left unsolved that we didn't account for at that point. So besides the card design and the art, there's so much that goes into managing a global supply chain for your product that we've taken a lot of lessons out of it, and we're hopefully improving that process a lot for Alter. But man, Kickstarter was quite the time.
Hopefully, when Alter releases, and then set 2 and set 3 and set 4, it's just a fun, distant memory. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll joke about it being like, "Hey, remember that time?"
You are.
But man, yeah, it was quite the ordeal for sure.
Are you? Did you finish all your packs?
Yep.
Oh my. Okay. Foil average, we're on par, so I don't have to poke you.
We got our UR.
We got our UR, so that's good. I think we're under average on SRs.
Yeah.
I think we're 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, and so, we've seen quite the range of SRs with some of these Kickstarter boxes. From 0 to 12.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things we've more standardized with Alter. And so you should expect to see around 5 to 7 SRs per box.
Okay, so it's gonna be more. It's not like it's impossible to have 0 in Alter, but it's just extremely
pretty impossible.
Pretty impossible.
I will say, I'll stake my reputation on that.
Okay.
But yeah, it should make the opening experience a lot more consistent.
Gotcha. How? I guess this is final question because we're now finished. But how did COVID make this process a lot harder? Or was it like you were already in the middle of COVID, so I guess it doesn't matter?
Yeah, COVID wasn't actually too bad for us. Taiwan actually loosened restrictions when I had gone to oversee manufacturing.
Okay.
And so I think I just needed to like self-quarantine for a week. The biggest challenge was actually supply chain from China because COVID had a resurgence there. And so some of the parts we needed for altar production or shipping distribution to C went through China. And so that actually led to a delay with, you know, the machine coming in for altar, with distribution to Southeast Asia, which we're, you know, seeing escalated now. And so that was mainly the pieces of COVID that we saw challenges with.
But otherwise, pretty, relatively speaking, smooth sailing.
A distant memory, but you never know.
Alrighty, well, I appreciate you guys for random rapid fire from the crowd.
From the crowd, the peanut gallery.
Audience question.
Question.
Whose genius idea was it to put Sylvie's emote on the bottom of the box? I have to know.
So that was Siladar's idea.
Of course. I'm not surprised.
I think I was like, I just need this product to like get produced and pushed out, and he's like, hey, you know what would be cool? What if we put this on the books? And I was like,
whoa.
Sure, just slap it on. We'll see how it goes.
Does Fractured Crown have first edition?
No, it'll be one.
Why not?
Just because first edition kind of like extends the life of a product, and Fractured Crown's like more of a supplemental set that we want to bridge the gap, and then our next core set to be the focus on.
Gotcha. Is there a Kickstarter for the next core set?
No, it'll be all through distribution.
Why not? I want to kickstart my set 3.
A lot of interesting positive and negative factors with Kickstarter, with the culture, the funding, the marketing. So, you know, you get a lot of reach, but you have kind of this direct-to-consumer distribution pipeline. And we wanted to make sure that our games were promoted and played in stores. And so that's why we decided to go with the more traditional method through distribution, through stores, and through customers.
So you said expansion packs will not have first edition. Does that mean the next core set will have first edition? No.
At this moment, we are planning for a first edition run of it, but how that first edition will be designed may look different to how Dawn of Ashes first edition was.
Gotcha. Sildar's CEO, right?
Moment we are like having strict titles. He leads product development and card design, whereas my role is more around like operations and business.
Does he have a bunch of foil Grand Crusader rings in a safe somewhere? So if the company needs some money, you know, he can just sell on eBay?
I've hoarded all of the extra foils in Taiwan, so there's our emergency stash.
Oh, guys, we can't fund set 4. We need a
Sell.
Yeah, the first edition is $100K a box.
Yeah.
You need some money.
Where are all the ambassador promos?
Yeah.
So it was a funny joke about the money, because I think I like to crack it that like the people that have been playing our game, winning promos, winning prizes, are making more money than us developers are making the game. But that's kind of the nature of like building a startup, making sure we're sustainable, putting the cart before the horse.
Okay. For the audience watching, how much needs to be kickstarted for an anime?
I think the average cost for like a 26-minute episode is like $1 million for like a high production quality. I'm sure you could go cheaper. It's not an anime I would want to watch.
Oh.
But, you know.
Can I commission like Ufotable or anything?
Oh, yeah, just phone them up. Unlimited Blade Works, right? Yeah, let's get that.
What's like the selfish, personal like goal that you wish would happen?
I can't say it.
You can't say it. Yeah.
There are goals, but no, I just can't legally say it.
Okay, how about this?
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Amongst the, you said 6 devs, right?
Yeah.
Amongst the 6 devs, who's the favorite champion? By majority.
It's interesting. Rai was actually the favorite
Wow.
for the longest time.
He's the main character energy.
But I'll say it's probably Merlin now.
Oh, actual hardball question. What fueled the decision to neuter Fire Eye before the players
yes.
even got a chance to figure out how to make that deck by themselves?
So it was actually because I was in the middle of production at the time. I just saw kind of like the decision making. I can't really comment about the exact process of that, because I think that we recognized that that deck wasn't super interactable at the time, and we had planned for the print in Fractured Crown to release the Little Flying Lantern then. It was just more around like, hey, has print actually gone through? Is it not? Maybe we'll just slip in another card. because there was also benefits where it evened out our printing process, because we had, I believe, 53 rares before previously, and it bumped it up to 54, which meant we could have an even print because our print sheets are around 54.
So it was like everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah,
where it's like,
more like,
like
oh, if we
people
have the opportunity, there's the answer.
Gotcha.
We can kind of move it up a bit.
Can we get a special set with the Doodle Alpha cards?
Oh yeah, can that be like a special promo set?
I
I would like, yeah.
You saw our announcement on April 1st, right?
Yeah,
we have new cards coming out.
Yeah, but I want a new set. I want like entire set.
No. Have it be Fractured Crowns promo packs. I want
This is what you can win in stores.
Yeah, I want the Doodle cards.
The event support
Where's
kits.
our uncut sheet?
Yeah.
So there are some considerations with that, because foils are so scarce or certain cards are so rare. We can't have uncut sheets where someone can cut the cards out and like try and make more money that way. So we have to be a little
Where's
bit
my non-foil?
controlled about it, but they
unfoil
will come. I've hoarded them in Taiwan as well with the spare foils.
So if I collect all SIGs and individually and I give them to you, can I trade it for it
I
uncut?
think Silidar said you can.
Holy moly! I will hold you guys to that.
The thing is, there are more cards on that sheet that no one has seen before that you would need to collect.
It would event stuff, right? Event kit.
No,
SIGs?
even beyond those.
Oh shit. Okay.
Shit.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Alright, thank you.
All right.
Close us out.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you guys for watching till the very end. If you have any more questions, obviously join our Discord. You might catch him if he's not
Sometimes.
if he's not traveling around. But make sure you subscribe for more Grand Archive content. I am going almost super hard, balls to the wall for this game, so it's, you'll definitely see more content. And comment below. Maybe you have any more questions about this, or if you like the game yourself. So let us know.
Yeah, appreciate all the support so far.
Yeah,
Look
thanks.
forward to a lot more.
Thanks, Sid.